Hello, so this is the Bandai Heihachi Game Dimension figure, I think, and I've always been quite interested in this figure because I think it's cool that both Jada Toys and now Game Dimension are doing Street Fighter and Tekken respectively in like a 6-inch scale, but I have some issues with the faces on both of them, and also this figure ends up looking quite cheap because there's literally like no paint on it. The only paint he's got is the facial hair and the eyes. The rest is just cast plastic. This is cast plastic, and yeah. So I'm gonna paint him up a little bit, and I actually do have a really good Heihachi figure. I got the Storm Collectibles Heihachi here, and I absolutely love him, but as you can tell, he is quite big, but I think he will make for a really good reference. So for starters, what I want to do is I want to give his gi here a black wash, and then I want to give him a couple of dry brushes, kind of like wear it out like this. This is very game accurate. And then I also want to redo his skin tone to get rid of this plasticky sheen, and I want to detail up his face. So I think there might be a good sculpt under here, but we'll just have to wait and see. So for starters, I have some Nuln oil here, fresh, and I'm just going to coat everything. Actually, no, I found out that everything just comes off super easily. Does it come off here too? Oh yeah, it does. So, perfect. So, like this. So, we're gonna start with the gi, and then we're gonna try to avoid the tempo here. This is really pretty. This actually looks like a stitched on decal. Starting off, just straight up a black wash. Get some of that detail popping, because there's a lot of texture on this figure, and I really want to bring that out. I might actually do a little bit of a harder black. Okay, I'm gonna try Vallejo's paint wash instead, and as I can already probably tell, it is a little bit thicker than Citadel's Nuln oil, which is the original one I was using. The tricky thing with the wash is that it looks almost completely different once it's dried up, but you also get, well, at least I do, I get very, very impatient waiting for it to dry. Already, I think this black gi looks tons better than this weird gray they went for. I don't really know why they went for gray and not just straight up black from the beginning. So for the legs, we're going to do the same thing. I'm not even going to bother with joint prep because I looked at the limbs here, and there's actually quite a lot of space in between like the different parts, so I don't think there should be any paint rub. However, I noticed this thing here does not take washes very well. What is going on? I think I'm gonna add some actual normal black to the wash as well, because there's something weird with the coverage. It just kind of dissolves. So I got some black added to it, and now we're just painting it straight up black, but that doesn't really matter because we're gonna dry brush the entire thing anyway. So while we wait for the all the black to just dry, I'm gonna do a light sanding across the entire body, so just so the paint sets a little bit better. Okay, so this is probably not how you're supposed to do it at all, but I'm lazy and I want to save a little bit of time, so I'm going to use the biggest brush I have, which is a big dry brush, and I just filled it up with Cadian Flesh Tone, and I diluted it with some water, and I'm just going to cover kind of like as much as I can in it. The water is doing a lot to help by making it a lot thinner and a lot smoother. This skin tone you're seeing here is not really going to be visible. We're going to dry brush some lighter skin tone on top of it. And we don't really need to cover the back too much, I just realized, because we're not gonna see the back. Neither are we gonna see lower abdomen. Okay, so I've mixed some Cadian Flesh Tone with some white and some of this medium flesh tone for a slightly more kind of yellowish tone. And we're gonna dry brush this on pretty heavily, because I still want it to be like the primary skin tone. And then afterwards we can clean it up with some Reichland Flesh Shade. Yeah, this looks really good in terms of skin tone. I'm gonna start dry brushing now, and it's just black mixed with a whole lot of gray. You see that there is clearly a bit more gray in here. So let's do the same thing with the upper body. Now we're gonna do like the edges of the like the torn stuff, and we're just gonna go straight up white.
Now I'm just applying some wash to the bandages, and then I'm gonna dry brush some white on top of it.
Okay, so pretty much everything is done now, except the head, as you can tell. The head looks incredibly cheap now in comparison. So we're gonna start with just the Cadian flesh tone, and we're gonna cover his entire face with it. I don't really care about hitting the mustache too much, but I'm still gonna be kinda cautious about it. What I'm most curious about is this stupid black outline around his eyes. I wanna see what it looks like without it, because that's what kind of makes it look super cartoony. I'm also not really too fond of the eye shape in general. I wonder if there's even like a sculpted eye shape, because it kind of just looks like tempoed on. And the hair we're going to do separately. We're gonna go in with some gray, like dark gray, and we're gonna work ourselves up to white.
So it's time to do the eyes, and I kind of experiment a lot here, but I end up just repainting the entire set of eyes, because the original placement is really weird and the shape is really off and just everything was off, so I just end up moving everything to where I think it should be.
So I'm just gonna trying to make the eyes less cartoony, so I figured I might as well try to repaint them completely. That looks pretty alright. Now comes the horrible part where we have to match the previous eye, which we are not. Do I like this one more, actually? So I haven't really figured out the eyes quite yet, but I figure I would just paint in the eyebrows to kinda just give me a more accurate representation of where I am. And we're going in with gray instead of straight up white, because we're gonna do some detailing with white afterwards. Man, I am struggling with these eyes. I made them smaller, a little bit more sharper. They're still a bit cartoony, and I want to try to fix that with some shading. But for now, I'm just gonna give the hair a little bit of a dry brush, and I just completely messed that up. So we're gonna try faint white strokes like so. The hard part about this figure is that there's not very much detail in the sculpt, so you kind of have to create your own detail, and it's just very unfortunate. See, now we've created some texture in the mustache. This actually looks pretty cool. I feel like I need to do something with this eyebrow transition. Okay, so it's time to do some shading, and I got some Raglan Flesh Shade, and I don't have a lot of paint on the brush, so I'm just going to gently paint in some of the wrinkles here. I think the scar we can go and just darken it up a little bit like so. So I was kind of contemplating whether to add a light reflection or if I was going to do a gloss varnish, but I'm just going to go with like a gloss for the eye. So here is Heihachi finished, and I am super happy with how it turned out, to the point where this is probably one of my favorite things I've ever completed. And yeah, like going through it, the gi already had some really nice texture to it, so just dry brushing gray and white on top of it made a world of a difference. The body itself didn't actually have a lot of detail. It was pretty soft, so I've actually kind of cheated and kind of drawn in lines with Reikland Flesh Shade to create a bit more definition and make him look a bit more ripped. And at least the scar is like sculpted in properly, so all I had to do was like fill that in with some paint. A lot of nice texture here on the arms, a lot of depth came out from the Cadian flesh tone and then the dry brush on top. The wraps as well, they have a lot of nice detail now to it. They're actually sculpted to have a kind of like, you see like the like little lines here, they have texture sculpted in, it just kind of got lost in the complete whiteness that was the original like cast. And then the biggest thing, naturally, the head. The head is a pretty soft sculpt by default, so I had to use Reikland Flesh Shade to make it think there are a lot of more sculpted wrinkles than there actually are, but I think it turned out really good. Same with the mustache, there isn't a lot of texture on it, so a lot of small individual strokes creates texture, so it looks more detailed than it is. Same with the eyebrows. The eyes were completely redone, pretty much from scratch, because the eyes didn't really have a lot of definition in the sculpt, so I just painted over them and painted in new eyes. I'm pretty happy with the shape. They could probably be better, but I think it looks pretty good as is. And then for the hair, yeah, just like a whole lot of dry brushing. Like I said, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I love Heihachi as my favorite Tekken character, and then King after that. Here is a comparison with the Storm Collectibles figure if you're interested in that. And I actually kind of, I mean, it might be like recency bias and just because I'm really proud of this, but I actually think I prefer this figure here. The Storm Collectibles figure is good. I think something is a bit wonky with the hair. It looks a bit too, it's like too straight, and then something about the head looks a little bit funny too. I don't know, this one just captures more of a Heihachi aura than this one, I think. So thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed.
わしが真の財閥当主三島平八である。見せてもらおうか。お前に三島を継ぐ権利はない。ふん。